position. Hey guys, I'm Ray, and we are streaming blacksmithing. Hello, hello. Welcome to our stream on this lovely Monday. So today I am simul-streaming on both Twitch and TikTok. Unfortunately, I cannot see the comments on TikTok, but I can see them on Twitch. So I am Ray's Smithy. Twitch.tv/Ray's Smithy if you'd like to make comments on the stream. So today we are going to be continuing working on our jingle bells. This is the one that we sort of kind of finished on Friday, and I wasn't entirely happy with it. It's not terrible for a first attempt, but not exactly everything that I wanted it to be. So we started a second one, and this one looks a little bit more round to me, and I'm a little bit more happy with this guy. And so we're going to continue working on this one. And then once we're finished with this one, we are going to work on our third jingle bell because I made 3 blanks. And unfortunately, this weekend was a bit busy, and I was unable to cut the material for our raising hammer, which was our next major project. So we're going to keep on keeping on with these jingle bells, and I will start the raising hammer streaming on, or project, on Wednesday. So Wednesday's stream. So welcome, guys. Hey, Ping. Hey, Corwin. Afternoon. It is super duper cold outside. It is super duper like snowing, and I'm not thrilled about it. It actually snowed on Friday, and I ended up I was unable to come out to the shop to do some prep work, so I ended up having to push that on to Sunday, and I didn't even finish it, so yeah. Anyway, first things first, let's start up the forge so I can get a little bit warmer. Warmer. Okay. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So I want to point out that today's propane sponsor is Knott's Hubby. John Brunel, he is the same guy who sent me this absolutely lovely Damascus hammer, and so he wanted to support us by buying us a tank of propane. So thank you so much, John. Thank you so much. And so John is this week's propane sponsor, and if you would like to sponsor our propane for the week, you can head over to my KoFi and donate $25, and I will put you as a feature on TikTok and YouTube and my stream. So thank you so much. Alrighty. Now I need to put the metal in the forge. Okay, the next thing I need to do is, I have no idea what's going on with my monitor right now. Things and stuff. Okay, there we go. Yay! Corwin has reached a 20 stream streak. That is incredible. Thank you so much, Corwin, for joining us for a whole 20 streams in a row. Wow, that's crazy. Thank you so much for your support. I greatly appreciate that. It is super cold, and so all of my technology is trying to revolt because it's super cold and it's not happy about it. So yeah, my monitor blinked off for whatever reason. That's kind of weird. I can see it now. It came back up. I had a little bit of trouble getting the lights to turn on today. They're fluorescents, and so sometimes they don't want to just like ignite very well for whatever reason. So we are on an ad break on Twitch. So while I am on ads on Twitch, I never do any forging, just because I want everyone to be able to see all of the heats and whatnot. At least it's less likely to overheat. I mean, that's that's the truth, you know? It is less likely to overheat when it is super duper cold. I have a whole bunch of scale just sitting in my swage block. Let's see. There we go. Now it's, for the most part, it's clean-ish. So once this ad is over, I will do a little bit more of our housekeeping kind of stuff. I am actually going to check on my TikTok just to kind of see what's going on there, if I'm getting any like viewers or any luck. But yeah. There's a few people that joined. I don't know if they're still there. It doesn't really give me any like timers or anything like that. So I don't know. It's a thing. So thank you so much for joining me if you are on TikTok. Like I said, I cannot see your comments on TikTok. Unfortunately, I haven't set up my OBS with the plugin that allows me to simul-stream, like really simul-stream. I will work on getting that. Right now, I'm just kind of testing to see if I can incorporate TikTok into my flow. Hopefully I can. It's, you know, it's another thing, right? So right now, I have my phone propped up behind all my cameras and my monitors and stuff. It's kind of more of a behind-the-scenes thing going on. So if I start talking about weirdness or, you know, continuously repeating that I can't really see people's comments on TikTok, that's why. I apologize for those of you who are on Twitch. So it looks like we are out of ad time. So I kind of want to show you this guy. So for those of you who are on Twitch, over the last couple weeks, we ended this project, or I guess we finished this project on Wednesday, but this is our raising stake, right? So I talked a little bit about the previous raising stake that I had. It was this guy. So we made another one, right, over the past couple of weeks. So this guy is going to enable us to create more of a bulbous shape for our vessels. Hey Yankee, welcome to the stream. So I have started to grind this guy. You can kind of see that, you know, there's some shiny bits on here, but there's a lot of like black forge scale on here too. I was unable to finish this guy because I actually used an entire bench grinder wheel on this guy, and I still am not done with it. So it is done enough for today's purposes. So we will actually be using this to make our jingle bells nice and concave. Oh, and I welded on the little stalk here, like the little stem, so that I can hold it on the post of ice. Ooh, this is cold, man. Super cold. And hopefully it'll stay on. This was made out of A2, which is an incredibly hard air hardening steel, or I guess air quenching steel. And so it really doesn't like to adhere to a weld bead. So there is always a shot that we're going to start trying to use this thing and then it'll just fall apart. And if that's the case, then I don't know. We'll figure something out. We'll probably start using the swage block at that point. Let's see. What else? I had other things I was going to talk about, and now I forgot them. So on Wednesday, I have finished editing our Wednesday's video for this week on YouTube. It's a long form video. It is a interview with another artist. I will let you guys wait and see who that artist is. I think I've said it a couple times in some comments on YouTube and maybe here. But yeah, it is another interview from an artist at Quad State, so I'm pretty excited about that. And I hope you guys enjoy that on Wednesday. Let's see. How we doing? We're starting to get pretty warm. Let's see. Do I want to use those or do I want to use these? All right. So I'm going to try and do a first heat. So I'm going to flip on the close-up camera and hit record on it. Those of you on TikTok may have actually seen me getting this all set up because I started the TikTok stream just a little bit early because it's a little bit awkward. All right, so unfortunately, those of you on TikTok are not really going to be able to see things up close, but on Twitch, I have just changed camera views, and you guys will be able to see a pretty good view of this. Let's see, can I get this to work the way I want it to? There we go. It's a little better. All right. We're learning. This is a brand new steak, so I'm kind of getting used to it. I'm going to put the piece back in the heat, and I'm going to reassess the position of that steak. Hey, Sandwich! Welcome to the stream. All right. Is it a little bit? Okay, so if I tighten this a little bit, there it goes. It shouldn't move on me. Okay. And this one can live over here. And these can also live over there. So this is the pattern that I found for today's project. So basically, this is the flat sheet, or I guess the pattern for the flat sheet for the jingle bell that we're making. And we are using a raising stake, which is a silver smithing tool, in order to kind of dome this out. We did last Friday, we started doming it out by using the swage block. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's a lot easier to use the raising stake if we are sinking it a little bit first. But yeah, so I cut out 3 of these guys. This is our last blank, and we're going to be using this today. Hopefully we can get some pretty bells. Like I said earlier, I did not actually have enough time to cut our piece of stock for the hammer, unfortunately. So we'll be starting that on Wednesday. How we doing in there? It's gonna take us a couple minutes to get things hot enough and all taken care of, I think. But yeah. So, like I said, this weekend it was really kind of busy because it snowed on like Saturday morning, and we got like 4 or 5 inches. So it was super cold, and it was a thunder snowstorm. If you guys have ever seen those, it's where it's kind of like a thunder rainstorm, except it snows instead of rain. So we had like lightning and thunder. And so it wasn't really amazingly safe to go out and shovel for a while. And then, we got a huge buildup, and it actually cooled, or I guess it warmed up a little bit because it started raining a little bit. Then we got a nice sheet of like ice to deal with. So it was a whole big thing. But I wasn't able to come out to the shop right away. So I did get out on Sunday, and that's where I started dressing our steak a little bit. And, had some fun out here. I always have a lot of fun out in the shop. So how about you guys? What did you guys do this weekend? Anything fun? I did see that Knots, he streamed on Sunday. I was able to kind of catch a little bit of that stream in kind of like my periphery. I wasn't very active or like able to like actively watch and like participate, but I did have it on in the background. I was doing a little bit of problem solving, and so unfortunately I was watching, I was there, but I wasn't able to comment or participate. We got about 8 inches or so. Fortunately, not much, if any, ice. Ooh. Well, I'm glad that you didn't get ice, because ice is the worst, right? I feel like moving south from, like, I lived, my hometown is in northern Illinois, and when we got snow, it just dumped. There were like buckets and buckets of snow. It was like 6 to 8 inches at a time often. But at the end of the day, it was just snow. So you just get out your shovel or your snowblower and you get rid of it, right? I moved down here, and if we get any snow at all, it ends up melting and turning into ice sheets. And then it's nearly impossible to like get it off of the road without salt or like starting to scrape it up and pulling up your driveway too. So I'm glad that you weren't able, or that you didn't have to deal with ice. I sure do all the time. All right, let's do another heat. Once again, those of you who are on TikTok, unfortunately, I can't change the angles of the camera, and I can't really see your comments, but I can on TikTok. And I am streaming on TikTok at the same name, Ray's Smithy. So if you'd like to join us over there, you are welcome. And I can totally drop my piece. There we go. That's a little better. All right, we're gonna get some more heat, and I'm gonna figure out how to finagle this a little bit easier, or to like grab it a little easier. I'm used to using a backwards like grip, like this, right? So I'm used to holding my stock like this, or kind of like this a little bit. It's acting a little bit weird, so I'm trying to do it this way, but I'm not entirely sure how I want to go about it. Maybe this? I don't know. I have used a hammer on ice before when it is too thick to just scrape, right? But then you got to be really careful, because if you've got a thin slab of concrete or asphalt, you can kind of crack your asphalt or your concrete. So you got to be a little bit careful. See, I also have heard of some people who will go out with like a brush burner, and they'll use a brush burner on their driveway, especially like something that's really long, like rural driveways. Unfortunately, you also, that's another thing you have to be a little bit careful with. If you heat your concrete or asphalt too much, you'll either melt your asphalt or you'll start blowing up chunks out of your concrete. So while I would love to do that, I'm a little bit too happy with my heat. So I think that it would be better if I just scraped it up. So I'm really liking the way the stake is performing, but I'm not entirely happy with the way that I'm holding the tongs, right? So a lot of this is I'm using silversmithing techniques that I learned while I was in college. And when I am using non-ferrous, like this is a sheet of copper, I actually get to work this cold. It moves really nicely even while it's cold. And so I can just hang on to this like so, with a lovely back grip, and I can just like hammer like so, right? Well, unfortunately, when I'm working with steel, it doesn't like to move very nicely unless it's hot. So I have to figure out a way to hold the tongs so that it's easy enough to move them around, but also that I can, work. That sounds like fun, aside from the driveway damage, right? I don't know. Driveway. I absolutely love brush burners. I won't lie. That's like if you want me to do yard work, I'm much more happy or likely to do it if I could just use a brush burner to get rid of weeds or because I'm kind of a pyro. I don't know if you guys know that about me. I really like fire. But, when I'm running around with a brush burner, it's like in one hand I've got a propane tank, and in the other I got this giant flamethrower. It's fun. Needless to say, I don't do any of the yard work around our house. I do start fires, like, when you gotta burn brush or, have an actual fire. I'm allowed to do that. I'm allowed to start grills, but I'm not allowed to do, like, actual yard work. All right, do we got enough heat? We got a little bit of heat. Let's try these tongs. These might be a little bit easier to hang on to. They'll probably be a little harder to get the piece out, though. Oh, you know what? I need to change my view. Smart. No one said I was smart, right? All right, how's this? This might work a little bit better. So we're getting a lot smaller of a top here. So that's actually what we want to see. We want this to be a lot more bulbous than we've been getting it. So I think we're actually getting a lot more movement in the direction that we want. So it'll take us a little bit of time. We're going to really have to focus in the in-between between these pedals. But I think that it's going to work. Even though it kind of seems like we're going a little bit backwards. I got a hole in my lip, apparently. Goodness gracious. So yeah, I have no idea how long my phone is going to hold out on this TikTok stream, because, I mean, I can only really hold out on a Twitch stream for about an hour and a half on the phone. So I think I'm probably at some point going to lose my TikTok. I will probably be able to, like, I'm fingers crossed, and I hope I can keep my Twitch stream for our normal 2.5 hours. However, it is actively snowing, and for whatever reason, the snow, it starts building up on some of the power lines and like the outdoor power box things. I don't know what they're called. So when that happens, sometimes the power starts flickering. We already had some power flickers, not last night, the night before. Can it also snow passively? I mean, I suppose it can snow passively. I would consider when the snow blows, like, you know, when the wind blows the snow from one place to the other, that's kind of passive snowing, right? Because it's snowing, but it's not falling from the sky. It's like being picked up by the wind. So I would consider that passively snowing. Or maybe I'm just blowing smoke. I don't know. What do you guys think? Is that how it would snow passively? Interesting interpretation, but good answer. I don't know. Sometimes I just like make stuff up on the fly. I do that a lot, but most of the time when I'm making stuff up on the fly, it's, you know, blacksmithing related, as opposed, or, you know, the act of blacksmithing related, as opposed to just like science and stuff. So, you know, because science is kind of fact and, you know, whatever. That's drifting and not quite upsetting, but yeah, just gotta punch through it sometimes. I don't know. I think when snow drifts around, it's upsetting. There's nothing worse than like shoveling your driveway or your, you know, sidewalk and then having the wind come and like shove all the snow right back down. Then you got to go and do it all over again. All right, let's do another heat. Once again, we are going to be focusing on these central areas in between the two petals because they're acting a little bit strange. They're not wanting to fold quite the way I want them to. Or I guess these are the areas that are the problematic. I got to kind of tap those down a little bit. Come on. There we go. That's much better. We're getting into that place where the progress I make in one direction kind of undoes a little bit of the progress that I've made in the other direction. And that is a signature of raising on steel. It doesn't do that when you're doing non-ferrous. It's kind of obnoxious. But we've kind of reduced the bulb from a wider base to a smaller base. You can kind of see that right there. Now we need to kind of start bringing the petals around so we can close our bell. The city plow shoveling the slushy stuff back in the driveway is the worst. It is. Oh my goodness. So I used to work at a grocery store. Some of you may know what, or may have heard of it. It's called Hy-Vee. It's very Midwestern United States. It's like an employee-owned whatever grocery store. Anyway, so they had these huge parking lots, and every time it snowed, and it snowed a lot because I used to work at the Hy-Vee in my hometown, and so they would have these like plows that had the salt and stuff, and they would just like plow these giant mountains of snow. And one year, I could not get my car out of the parking lot at the end of the night when we were closing down the area that I was where I was parked, and or where I was working, I guess. And so I left it overnight, and they plowed all of the snow around my car, so I had to dig it out for a long time. That sucked. Maybe you should go into politics, reporter. Mrs. Ray, from your latest campaign speech, you were quoted with the term active snowing. Can you explain what that is supposed to mean? And what would you consider as passive snowing? Oh, yes, of course. There is a clear definition of that. Snow falls actively when falling from the sky, whereas driven by gravity, or thus only driven by gravity. Yes, that's very political of me. I should be careful because I don't allow politics in stream chat. So, I should be a little bit more careful, doing the whole, I'm going to talk out my ass. Okay, so we do have an ad break starting in about 3 minutes. So I'm going to try and do one more heat before that ad shows up, and then we will continue talking, I guess, or something. But we're not going to talk about politics. Oh, I already did that. Okay, cool. Goodness gracious. It's one of those days, All right. So we got that nice and taken care of. I think the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to go back to the swage block, and we're going to kind of try and sink in some of these indented areas to see if we can't pull those around into some of the smaller round areas. So I'm going to move the camera here in a second. That's what we're going to do while the ad goes. And I'm also going to check my TikTok feed, make sure that I'm still live and whatnot. As long as you sound confident about it, we'll likely believe you. See, that's a problem, right? If you believe me just because I'm confident, that can be a big problem. All right, it looks like I am still live on the TikToks. So unfortunately, I cannot see anybody's comment on TikTok. I can see comments on Twitch. So if you would like to comment and join in on the fun, my handle is twitch.tv/RaiseSmithy. And we are live currently. Mothman ate my... I have a Forge question. All right, I am always up for a good Forge question. Or as Constanza says, it's not a lie if you believe it. Something like that. My mom always said, truth is truth whether you believe it or not. And I am a firm believer in my mama. All right, I'm going to move this camera, and hopefully we'll get a good question about the forge. I am always happy to answer questions about blacksmithing, the forge, myself. If it's a question about me, though, I do reserve the right to, like, refuse to answer the question because, personal is personal and whatnot. Internet safety. Goodness gracious. I left, like, 3 propane tanks over where I'm trying to put this camera, and so I keep tripping over them. That's what all that noise is. Let me focus my camera. Awesome. Ugh. Here we go. Oh, hey Kiri and hey Kiri's Raiders. Y'all are in the middle of a ad. I'm sorry about the ad purgatory. All right. I think the ad break is going to end very shortly. Okay. Hey guys, welcome to the stream. Thank you so much, Kiri, for the raid. Thank you all for joining me. Hey Bluesy, welcome. Actually, I had seen an old YouTube video where someone turned a metal folding chair into a forge. Is this still a good option for beginners, or is there a better beginner forge to make? So there is a lot of different ways that you can go about making a beginner forge. There are several questions that you need to ask yourself before you make your forge. And those questions are, would you rather do, or like, is it easier for you to get a hold of coal, or is it easier for you to get a hold of propane? Do you want a propane forge? Do you prefer a coal forge? I'm also going to kind of, yeah, you can pretty much make a cast iron skillet fire pot with a chair as a forge. I actually used just for my first forge, I used a metal bucket that I lined with refracting wool. I didn't even know that it would, shed fibers. And so you do have to be careful about fire retardant wool because it will do a number to your lungs. But yeah, my first forge, it was really easy. Do make sure that you line a forge that it is a fibered based forge. I've also made a couple out of like just pieces of sheet steel and angle iron that I welded together. What are the differences between coal and propane? Does it affect the metal differently? Yes, it does. One more thing about like a forge though, my best advice for you for a brand new forge is actually go to Amazon, or I guess, yeah, you can buy a forge relatively inexpensively on Amazon. Please do watch reviews. I know Alex Steele has a video like reviewing all of the different forges over on Amazon. I think Black Bear also has one. Check those out. I'm also going to tell you or recommend to you that you check out your local Abana affiliate. Abana is the Artist Blacksmith of North America. They have links or like a find an affiliate or find a blacksmith where you can, or on their website where you can type in your postal code and they'll actually find, or they have like a listing of every blacksmith that is associated with Abana and most of their international affiliates as well. Everywhere from Europe to Australia. So if you can hook up with a blacksmith, you can kind of learn before you buy a little bit. You know, there's a few things that like you just can't really learn unless you're in person with somebody. It's harder to learn from video. Now, the difference between coal and propane, coal I have over there and propane I have here. So I can talk forever and have a piece of steel in my propane forge and it's never gonna melt, right? That's why I personally use propane when I'm streaming, because I don't have to worry about it. I can sit here and I can talk for the entire time with the forge going and I don't have to worry. I mean, it's gonna develop scale, but you know, it's not gonna melt. Well, if I do the same thing and I'm not paying attention over in the the coal, I'll burn that thing up. I'll burn it up so fast. Not fun. Anyway, so you can get a much hotter and much more pinpoint accurate flame out of a coal forge than you can with a propane forge. Propane is to whom it may concern, whereas coal is an angry letter to a specific person, you know? So it's just, you can do everything in either one. It's just some people think that it's easier to go with coal. Some people think it's easier to go in propane, if that makes sense. I probably would have had a better setup if I had met the nearby Oomba blacksmith first. Now I'm slowly upgrading. Yes. See, I started blacksmithing by watching YouTube videos. And when I finally met a real blacksmith, I was like, oh, if I'd have met you first, it would have been so much better, so much easier, and I would have had a better time. Hey, Jack. Welcome, welcome. All right. How long does a tank of propane usually last? I just answered that question on, like, I think it was Wednesday of last week, but it's a great question. So I use a 20-pound a 20-pound propane tank. They're like the little barbecue pigs. That one lasts me about 7.5 hours, but it will freeze in the cold winter time, like we are in about 2 hours. Sometimes an hour and a half if it's like empty. So we will probably have our propane freeze a little bit today. So as we keep on keeping on, we're going to start having a little bit of trouble getting the hammer inside of here. So I'm going to do my very best. To kind of shape this. And I'm not exactly using it the most efficient way. I'm kind of going a little bit slower. I do need to address a couple of areas where things are poking up, but we're getting there. Maybe, maybe not. I will preface by saying this is the very first time that I have, made bells starting on Friday, I guess. And so I'm not perfect at it. I'm probably going to screw up quite a bit. Assuming the answer is yes, but there is a better tool steel than we had 100 years ago. I inherited some very old hand tools, and I was curious how much better if they were made nowadays. And then also, Sacker Pay or Pant, thank you so much for that follow. Welcome to the stream, welcome to the community. So the beauty of blacksmithing is that tools can actually be used, like old tools, antique tools can actually be oftentimes put back into use. This tool right here is probably twice as old as I am. It's still useful. This tool too. My anvil is from the early 1900s, probably the like 30s. So the older tools, they have just as much use, sometimes more use and better usage than some of the new and modern tools that are available. The reason that I mention like getting some tools on Amazon really is because some of the modern innovations are really good, and there are a lot of tooling and tools that they were out of product for, I guess, production for a while, if that makes sense. This is not exactly the case in computer science. Anvil is from 1812. That one is probably a little bit earlier than that. Or, I mean, I guess, hang on. I said the early 1900s, or like the 19th century. No, I think I said 1900s. Sounds a bit choppy. I'm sorry. Like is my stuff being stupid? I'm missing a couple of the, I apologize if we're a little bit choppy. I do know that my stuff's a little bit buffery. Wiggling the connector at the sender helped. Okay. That is in this pocket. You guys can't hear me very well. I apologize for that. So yeah, this anvil right there is probably from the 1880s. Maybe the early 1900s. Right now it's okay. Okay. There are some modern places that you can buy anvils from. And one of the ones that we were able to buy anvils from for a very long time, Holland Anvils, they just closed up shop. So unfortunately, newer anvils are going to be a little bit harder to find. I think a few other people are starting to make them. So that is awesome, and I'm glad that people are stepping up. But yeah, old tools work, new tools work. You can really, the tools that you have don't make the tools don't make the blacksmith. That's what I'm trying to say. I'm sorry, my brain is like running a couple different things at once. I'm cold and sorry. Anyway, yeah, so tools don't make the blacksmith, right? You can do blacksmithing and get started very nicely with just a hammer that you buy at the hardware store. This guy, I bought this at Harbor Freight, which is a discount tool place here in the United States, and it works beautifully. This is a 3-pound, I think they call this an engineer's hammer, maybe a blacksmith hammer. It's actually a 3-pound cross peen hammer. That's the technical term for this guy. And I also use this guy, which this was my grandfather's hammer that I inherited from his tools when he passed away. So this one is older than I am. So, use the tools you got, Beaver and Atlas are probably 2024, 2025. Yes. Good day. Hey, Lexi. Welcome to the stream. Welcome, welcome. All right, let's do another heat. We're going to see what we can do. kind of try and round this out a little bit more, and make sure, or I guess not make sure, but like try and make it a little bit rounder as we go. We're gonna work a little bit on some of these divots and things. You guys have no idea how much I really want to just grab this with my hands. Which would be a really bad thing to do. But like I said, I learned to do this from from silversmithing. All right. We are back to where we were before. We're a little bit more bulbous, but we're not. I don't know. I think that all that work, I just kind of like am back to where I started a little bit. I'm going to put this back in the heat, and then I'm going to think about this for a little bit. I think I'm going to need to go back to the steak. You can do it, but it will hurt. It will hurt. That would be content, but it would be painful. It would be, it would be a mistake. All right, I'm going to move the camera from the swage block over to the steak. Goodness gracious. So for those of you who are new to blacksmithing, I'm actually using some weird specialty tools today. We aren't actually using the anvil. I do have 2 anvils, but I moved them out of the way today so that I could test a theory. It's only working a little bit. So we shall see how well I can make it work overall. If it makes it any better, or if it's just, it's the same regardless. So the steak, which we're gonna see in the close-up shot on the next heat, which is this guy right here. Won't the anvil be jealous? It will, it definitely will, you know. So this is the steak that we made over the last several weeks. This is going to allow us to make things a little bit more bulbous, but like I said, I'm having a little bit of trouble because using the swage block here, I kind of undid most of the work that we did on the steak. So I'm not entirely sure what I need to do next, but we're going to forge forward and see what happens. I'm going to check my phone, make sure that that is still functional and stuff. That's interesting. Okay, well, it looks like that's all she wrote for the TikTok live. Because I've got a little bit of activity or inactivity. I guess I can't just like stick it there and leave it. How do I fix this? I don't know. It's being funky. For those of you who are on TikTok, you're probably seeing like my swage block as I try and figure out how this works. But I apologize. I think I'm going to have to end the stream on TikTok. I am live on Twitch, and I will be at the Raise It Smithy handle. And yeah. So thank you so much for joining me. I will have to figure out how to attach TikTok to my OBS. Whoops. What is going on? Goodness gracious. So yes, I can, yes, Sandwich, I can put a plugin on OBS that will allow me to stream to both Twitch and TikTok, but I haven't done that yet. I just wanted to see if it would actually work like by itself. So apparently it does work by itself. So I will definitely, find the plugin that will allow me to multi-stream. And that way it makes it a lot easier for me to, see people's comments and things like that. So I apologize for having to mess around with that. But yeah, I was just trying to test a little bit of TikTok streaming. So we are back here on Twitch, and you guys have my total attention now. So yeah, I am, this is my second bell that I've attempted to do, and I'm a little bit afraid that I have made things a little bit worse, but that's all right. TikTok is YouTube and Twitch with ADHD on steroids. So TikTok is a platform with vertical videos where you just like scroll. If you don't like the video, you just flip it up, and then you get another video and another video, and so it's like an adrenaline hit after an adrenaline hit after an adrenaline hit, and it's like happy. So it's incredibly addictive as a platform, but they do allow you to stream there, and so I was kind of like trying to see if it would work or how it would work. So I think I need to tie it into my OBS if I'm going to continue doing it. But yeah. So swage block equals dripped -1, something like that. I hear that a lot, but that drug does not seem to work for me. See, I think the more you do TikTok, the more addictive it gets, right? At first, when I started using it, I was like, I'll look at it a couple times here and there, while I'm waiting in line for something. And now I'm always on it. I'll admit it. If I'm not streaming, there's a good chance that I have flipped through a couple TikTok videos within the last 30 minutes, Thankfully, I've never used it. I have a very important question. Are these jingle or jangle bells? Well, I think the technical term for these bells is sleigh bells. But yeah. Let's see if I can't do a little bit. Okay, so bojangle, something like that. So yeah, I am getting a little bit of wavering as far as my my latency. So I hope that you guys can see me fine. Sleigh bell sounds rather brutal. Well, maybe it's like sleigh bells, Sleigh. Maybe not. I don't know. They are metal, right? You know what? I have been talking to you guys with the close-up cam this whole time. I am so sorry, guys. Goodness gracious. I don't know what's happening today. Today, I'm a little bit distracted. I apologize. I'm getting scale down my shirt. I don't know how it jumped that high. All right, here we go. I'm gonna put this back in the heat. And I think I'm actually gonna kind of try and close it a little bit better. On our next heat, I'm just gonna try and close it. I don't know. Not the whole time, actually. You just switched a bit early. Okay. That makes me feel a little bit better, but it makes me feel a little worse about the fact that I switched it and forgot. Right? Goodness gracious. It's been one of those weeks, right? All last week was really weird. Hey, metal Christmas music is the only Christmas music I can stand. Okay, I can listen to one or two renditions of A Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer, so metal all the way. Yeah. Metal all the way. See, I used to work at a grocery store, and we used to have the Christmas playlist, and it was on a loop, and the loop was 4 hours long, right? So when the 4 hours finished, it would start from the beginning. And so I had 7.5 hour shifts. And so I got to listen to the loop 1.5 times every shift. Let's see. Most videos on YouTube I watch are more like the less than hour ones. And after all, I am a Twitch or a multi-hour Twitch stream. Maybe I'm not the right customer for TikTok. I mean, maybe. Side effect of getting old. Right? All right. Do I want to move the camera again? I think I do. I apologize. But yeah, I started talking about last week and how crazy it was, and I completely, yeah. Anyway, so last week was a little bit crazy because the butler was off of work all week, right? And the butler is a giant distraction for me, and it makes it very difficult for my editing schedule, and because I get really distracted. So I didn't edit all week last week, and so now I'm paying for it. I had a big backlog of videos that I had already finished editing, so I'm not paying for it in I have to rush or anything. It's just that my brain is not all here in it's not my normal schedule, you know? So I gotta jump back into it. That is pretty long. I know markets or shops which used one CD. Yes, I am old on a loop. Ooh, really? I thought the 8 renditions of Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and the 4 different versions of Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart was bad. Whamageddon. Do you guys know about that? Whamageddon? It's there's that song, it's by Wham, or I guess the original one, it's Last Christmas I Gave You My Heart, and the very next day you gave it away or whatever. So here in the US, or I guess a couple of my friends have this game that's starting on Black Friday, all the way through Christmas Eve. If you hear the Wham version of Last Christmas, then you're out. And we see how long people can survive without hearing the Wham song. Mariah Carey is more brutal, right? They could have used a CD changer at least. Yeah, try to find one of those. 700 times a day of Mariah Carey. Last Christmas is extremely famous and infamous. It is. I don't mind the Wham song, but Mariah can kick rocks. Right? I don't know. I also think that All I Want for Christmas Is You is a much more irritating song than Last Christmas. But I mean, I don't listen to Christmas music. The only time I ever hear Christmas music around or like over the year is either at my parents' house at Christmas or in in stores, like grocery stores and stuff. This year I was pretty impressed because the grocery store actually stopped like doing they didn't start doing the Christmas music until like Black Friday, and it used to be like after Halloween they'd start it. Skillet has some new metal version of O Come Emmanuel that's pretty sweet. That's cool. I used to listen to Skillet once upon a time. I think I only listened to a couple of their songs though. Man, my brain is really scattered today, so I apologize. I keep starting statements and then stopping in the middle and starting some other statement. I'm surprised you guys understand what I'm talking about. Too heavy for you? I don't know. I ran into them when I was listening to a lot of Christian music, and then when I stopped listening to Christian music, I kind of just never went back. And I know it sounds really weird to say Skillet used to be a Christian band, but they were. I like Johnny Mathis singing Do You Hear What I Hear? But every time I hear, I think of the movie Gremlins and Blenders. See, I only ever saw like Gremlins once, and I don't think I ever saw Blenders. Listen to Twisted Sister's Twisted Christmas. I can imagine that would be a classic, you know? They're like, aren't they like heavy metal? I was under the impression that they're a hair band. That's probably wrong. You'll have to let me know. Is that Silent Night? Yes, hair metal. Okay. Awesome. I actually recognized it. See, when I was in school, we had to sing Silent Night for one of our Christmas programs, and then for one verse, we ended up singing the German version. The song is playing during a scene that ends with the mom putting a bad gremlin in a blender and liquefying it. Okay. That would probably make me think of it too then. I'm going to do another heat now that the ad is over. Woo. All right, let's see. Can I get this to work? Probably not. I haven't been doing amazing with this yet, you know? And it also does not help that I'm like, it's twisting in my tongs at the same time. So, you know, whatevs. Yeah. Yeah, I think that this didn't work any better than the last attempt. Oh my goodness. Why do I smell burning hair product? I don't have any product in my hair. Why am I smelling that? Okay, we're gonna put this back in the forge. It's a lot deeper than before. We've got it pretty nice in this hole. Yes, it was an IP. Is OBS OBSing? It might be. What's going on? We're dropping frames. That's what's going on. I'm so sorry, guys. Yes, OBS is OBSing. I apologize for that. So I'm convinced it's not the internet. I think it's just OBS being stupid. I apologize. I'm sorry. Don't be alarmed unless you start smelling fudge. Now, are we dropping more frames? I know we were dropping some frames, but it looks like it stopped. I don't know. I'm sorry. I hope you guys can at least hear me. So I know, or like when I was complaining about hair products, so I used to be a jeweler, and I would repair a lot of like wedding rings and engagement rings. And engagement rings have like this gating underneath of them. They're hollow. Seems fine. Okay, cool. I'm glad. And like I said, there are some drop frames. It told me that that the frames dropped, but I wasn't sure what you guys were seeing. So anyway, a lot of engagement rings that you buy at the mall stores are hollow underneath. And a lot of hairstylists really, really like to, or people who like to put hair product in, like to keep their rings on while they're doing that. And so all of that hair product gets caught underneath the stones in that hollow. And if you're soldering it and there's hair product in there, ooh, it has a horrible smell. I mean, it's worse than just straight hair burning. This rather looked like locally. It did not buffer, but just repeatedly froze and came back. Now it works. Okay. Well, I'm glad. Like I said, there was some frame drops, but like I said, it's snowing and stuff is not thrilled with me today. So apologies.